back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. As we continue our Trading with a Purpose series here on YouTube, we've now gone to the last pair that we're covering, which is NAS100. So as you can see, NAS100 is coming off a brand new peak formation high. So essentially we should be looking for sells. Now this could be a very bad thing for the stock market, obviously, because if we are getting a peak formation high, we're looking for sells. That means there's essentially more downside to happen. Now, the one thing that I would tell you about this pair is real simple. You could just use a simple fib retracement. So you can see that if we're actually going to go higher, we're going to have to stop at some of these levels here of either 50 or 618 in order to essentially make that happen. All right. But until we get that evidence of prices wanting to turn around and actually go higher, which in this case here, because we're coming off a peak formation high, if we were to get, let's say, price action to do something like this, right, then obviously what will happen is this area right here would end up being a reset, and then obviously we'd be looking for buys from there. Looking at it from a daily perspective, obviously you could see huge downtrend that we are in on the daily time frame. And really now the important factors are whether or not we break below the 16,400 mark. Because if we do not break below the 16,400 mark, then obviously this could start to either consolidate or, again, reset to go higher. So again, you're going to just let price action tell you what it's going to do. You're not a magician, you're not a wizard, all right? Because at the end of the day, these markets are going to react to anything that happens with tariffs, with Trump sending out a tweet. Anything that has to do with that is going to definitely make a huge impact on these markets. So for right now, we are looking for sells until we get any kind of a different direction in the market. I think what I would be looking for if I'm considering looking for buys or possibly looking for a reset to occur is we need to be trading above 18,500. All right, unless we're trading above 18,500, then there's nothing really to consider about possibly looking for buys or a reset to occur. Now, we really didn't get a confirmation of this peak formation high until Wednesday of last week. So before that, we would have been looking for buy setups. So the question becomes is how many buy setups would there have been available before Wednesday that would have met all of our rules? Now, if we just take a look back at the previous week before that, all of this obviously we know was from the tariffs and news and things of that nature that caused this big candle. Okay, so from there, are there any buy setups essentially that we could have taken until we got that confirmation on Wednesday? So we go right into Friday here. There is a potential for a type 3 here. The problem with this is pretty obvious. Number one, the 50 EMA is all the way up here at the very top, so you can't use it as a confirmation. Because the 50 is all the way up here at the top, also you can't use the 13 EMA as a confirmation either. So this trade does not make sense at all to potentially take. Now in the US session, it's just a bunch of consolidation until you get into the afternoon session. So there's really nothing here at all on Friday. Now, if we take a look at Monday, you have a completely different story where you can see that there is a type 3 pattern that happens in London. You have the 50 EMA where it should be, and you get a railroad track. So that is where you could put in your entry. Now, essentially, the trade setup would look something like this. And by the time you get to the opening of the US session, you're already at 3.5 to 1. Potentially at the very top goes all the way up to 4 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So that is one specific trade that you could have taken. Now going over to Tuesday, again, you can see that we're still looking for buys. And now we don't have anything at all during the London session. In the New York session, we do get a major pullback here. This could be taken as a continuation trade. The only thing that you don't have here again is the 50 EMA because of price action consolidating, and it's essentially above it. Can you take this as a continuation trade? You can. The reason is because we're not solely basing the trade setup by itself on the 50 EMA. All right. So the 50 EMA is only a confirmation. The big thing that we look for on continuation trades is the pullback, and essentially, does that pullback pull hard into the session to where at the beginning of the session you're not at the top, you're not at the very bottom, you're at the middle. So obviously you can see we're in the middle of the range here. When we get to the beginning of the US session, we get a railroad track. That's going to be the entry, and then you end up getting at the peak of it over 2.5 to 1 risk reward ratio on that trade. So that is one other trade that you could have taken as well. After Wednesday confirms the peak formation high, then we'd be looking for sells. There is nothing here on Wednesday or Thursday that meets essentially our criteria for sell setups. So essentially you had two trade setups that were available that went with the bias after the peak formation low was created. So between 4 or 5 days of actual trading in one directional bias, you had 2 trade opportunities that presented itself on NAS100. So as you can see, the point that I was making in the last video is again the same thing, that you're not going to have trades that happen every single day. So stop coming into the market thinking that you're going to trade every single day and get a trade set up every single day, because it's just not going to happen. Again, if you're looking at multiple pairs, you should be able to get 3 to 4 good quality high trades every week. So that is NAS100, obviously looking for sells right now, coming off a peak formation high. Again, I wouldn't consider looking for buys until price action is above 18,600. All right, once price is above 18,600, then we can see how price action is reacting to see if we could possibly get a reset to go higher. All right, but until that happens, we're looking for sells right now. Also, again, keep the fib on so you can see how big the retracement is, if this is really going to essentially come back and do this on a higher time frame. All right, so we will see again as price action plays out, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so that is a video for NAS100. Hopefully it brought you some value and better understanding. If you need help, of course, go ahead and join FXM Plus. The links are in the description, and we will see you in the next video.